Hi guys, I'm David with MediaUnlock.net, and today we're going to bring you a in-the-field tutorial on how to take portrait shots with your 18 to 55 millimeter lens. We're also going to be shooting on the Canon Rebel T3i. Now the idea that I'm making this video for you guys is that I know a lot of people can only afford a very cheap lens and a lower end body, you know, because this lens is about $120 and it does have the image stabilization. And the body, this Canon T3i, roughly runs about $300 to $400. So I wanted to make a video showing you guys how to shoot decent portrait shots with this lens and this camera body so that you can get better at your craft. I know a lot of people feel like if they don't have the expensive lenses, they can't produce nice looking pictures, and that's not true. This 18 to 55 millimeter lens is actually pretty decent for what it is, and especially it's a great way to get some practice in. So we're going to break this up into 3 different videos. The first video is actually going to be just me shooting with the camera and the lens without any flash, just natural lighting. We're here roughly at golden hour, so we're getting a nice warm looking shot with the sun. And then the second video, we're actually going to bring out a flash, a really cheap wireless flash trigger with a 430EX2, so one of the cheaper Canon flashes, and we're going to actually shoot some pictures with the flash. And then in the third video, we're actually going to break down the editing aspect, and we're going to edit these photos so you can see everything from the camera to the computer to the final product, so that you can follow along and try to get better shots with your cheaper 18 to 55 millimeter lens. All right guys, so let's get part 1 started. So in part 1, we're just going to do ambient light. Now it is starting to get dark and we have golden hour is about gone now. It took us longer to get set up than I thought it would, but it's okay. We're still going to get some nice shots. We don't have a lot of shadows, which is going to be really nice, and we'll be able to really correct stuff in Lightroom a little bit more than I normally want to. But again, we're running out of light. This took longer to get set up than expected. It's going to have to work with it. Now we have the 18 to 55, as I mentioned, and the Rebel series T3i, and we've got Mark here who was gracious enough to come out and actually be the model. He does some bodybuilding and he is a fellow photographer. We actually go and shoot stars a lot, and he's quite a decent photographer. But today I asked him to be the model. So what we're going to do is we're going to put Mark in between the 2 wreaths here. So we're going to block out this piece right here on the barn, so we're not seeing that. So Mark, if you want to move over a little bit. And we want to come forwards. We want to give you a little bit of a distance. You don't want to get people too close to a specific object because the object will blend in with the person. You want a little bit of depth of field, and we still may move Mark a little bit further forwards depending on how I like the shot. So let's talk settings. That's very important that we get our settings right. The first setting that you really want to focus on, depending on the type of shot you want today, I don't want a large depth of field. I don't want the background to be completely blurred out. So we're not going to drop our f-stop down to like a 3.5. We want the sharpest possible picture that we can get. Now that is going to be between 5.6 and 11. I really like 8. 8 is really going to give you a super sharp look. So usually your sweet spot on your lens is around f8, and so that's what we're going to do. So we're going to set the camera to an f8. I'm going to guess my ISO needs to be around 400. We took a few test shots. And then I'm going to bring my shutter down to about 1/25, and I'm going to leave the white balance. I'm going to leave the white balance at auto white balance because we can fix that in post. Again, when it comes to white balance, you don't actually have to worry about it as much because that can be completely corrected in post if you're shooting raw. So let's go on and take a test shot. Again, my settings, shutter at 125, ISO at 400, and an f-stop or aperture at 8. So again, at 8, that's really going to give you the sharpest look. If you go below 5.6 or above f11, you're going to start getting more of a blur, or if you go below 5.6, you get more blur for depth of field. If you go above 11, you get what's called diffraction, which you start losing sharpness in your shot. So let's snap a shot. Now I'm really just going to focus on Mark from the waist up for this first shot. We're not really going to be getting the wreaths in right off the bat. We're going to throw them in a little bit later. All right, Mark. And the nice thing about shooting with Mark is he's been in the bodybuilding world long enough that he actually knows how to position himself and how to kind of be a model, even though he's a photographer. He works with a lot of models, so he knows how he needs to model, so I don't have to spend a lot of time telling him what to do. So Mark, if I'm gonna have you look a little bit over, just move your head up a tad bit. Nope, too far. Yep, perfect. And again, I'm gonna pop these pictures up on the screen so you can see what they look like before we get to part 3, where we're actually going to be editing them. If you wanna jump right to that video, we'll add a link up here when it's available. So let's take a look at those. Mark's looking a little dark in the jacket, as you can see. So his face is fairly well lit. So what we want to do is we need a little bit more light. So we can bring our shutter down a stop or two. So I'm going to bring my shutter down to an 80. It was at 125 before. I'm going to bring it down to an 80. We're going to take another shot. We're going to see how that looks. Because I like my ISO at 400, I don't want to bring my ISO down to 200 because it will darken it up too much. So we're going to bring the shutter down instead to a slower speed. So let's take another shot. And let that pop up onto the screen here. And that's looking much better. So now what we want to do is I want to get a little more light on his jacket. So I'm actually going to have my camera assistant, Alex, bring out the whiteboard and the silver one, but we're probably going to use the white one. So I somehow lost my bounce board recently. So Mark, you can just jump in, Alex. Mark was kind enough to bring his, and he actually made, and I'll let Mark talk a little bit about it and explain exactly. This is a really cheap way to make a bounce board. And so you went to like a craft store, right? And you just yeah, just went to a craft store, and what he did is he just got some, I guess, glue. Did you just glue this onto, what is this, core frame or? And he just glued that on there. So this is a really cheap way. Not only are you learning how to shoot with an 18 to 55, a really cheap way to bounce light. So what we want to try to do is we want to get a little more light on his jacket. So let's try the white and see if we can get enough light, because the sun's almost down. So I don't know if we're going to be able to get enough light bouncing, but let's see. Yeah, let me take a shot. Let's see if we're getting any more light on that. Nope, let's try the silver. Now you wouldn't normally always use silver, but it's going to reflect light a little bit better, so we can probably get, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so, and let's take a shot. Again, you also want to, other things to think about before you take a portrait shot is you really want to visualize what the picture is going to look like or what you want it to look like. Also, remember, shadows are very important. They can hurt you or they can help you. Much better. Let's try to see if we can get a little bit more light in this general vicinity. I like where you're standing, so if you could try to get a little, there we go. And we'll pop that up, and that's looking much better, giving us a little bit more light and shadows on his jacket, which I was looking for. Unfortunately, because the sun's almost down, if the sun was still up, we could get a little more light. Or another thing that you can do is bring like a little LED light, and you can bounce that light off of the reflector, and then you can kind of control the lighting in that aspect. You can get a little cheap little 30 LED light, and it runs off AA batteries, and you could use that to bounce to get light if you needed more. As well, in part 2, we're going to be using a flash, and when you're using flash, that's really just that will fix your situation or issue as well. But the nice thing is we don't have a lot of harsh shadows because of the sun being down. It's a very even lighting. So now we're going to take some wider shots and get you to back up a little bit, Alex. Yeah. There we go. The type of shots that we're really going for, we're not doing full body shots. And I'll just snag, as you guys can see, there isn't really a lot of interesting stuff far as anything that we really need to take a picture of, really below the waist. So we're really just focusing on the waist up here for this shot. There are times, of course, you may want to do full body shots, especially when you're doing family portraits or something like that. They're not going to be worried, but this is the idea of this video, is to do more of a professional portrait. So if you just give me another stance here, Mark, work it. And I'm going to have you take a step forward because we're going to get that. Yeah, there we go, because we got to block out that. Perfect. Yeah, and try to bounce, see, put a little light up above him. There you go, to get, yeah, even out his face right there.
You turn this way or?
Yeah, no, that's good how you are right now. And we'll pop that one up so you guys can see it. And that looks pretty good. Can you stand up a tad bit straighter though? There we go. He's just so big, guys. All right, so we got a few pictures. Now, again, we're gonna take that into the editing system along with the ones that we shoot with the flash in part 2. We will show you how to make these pictures look as nice as possible in Lightroom, and we may pop it into Photoshop for a little fine tweaking. So we'll see you guys in part 2, so we can learn how to take pretty much the same shots, but we're gonna work with the flash. And again, that's gonna be, we're trying to make that part as cheap, as far as equipment goes, as cheap as possible using the 430EX2 and some really cheap flash triggers that work really well. So we'll see you guys in part 2. Hey guys, if you'd like to check out our website where we have all kinds of fun and exciting blogs, videos, and extra information that isn't on our YouTube page, click right here. If you'd like to talk to us or contact us and kind of take a look at all the different stuff that we have going on, we've kind of funneled it all through our Facebook. You can hit our Facebook page right here and follow us or like us. Now, if you like to look at cool pictures and behind the scenes stuff, we do that on Instagram right here. So go on and follow us on Instagram. And of course, we got our cute little bird right here, Mr. Twitter, and you can follow us as we do our short tweets.